Guys, it is Dual Bros here. We're a new channel, so if you guys haven't seen us before, that's most likely why. I have had YouTube channels in the past, but they haven't been for Yu-Gi-Oh. So this is a new little thing that I'm doing with a good friend of mine. So bear with us. We're gonna try and bring you what we can of what our deck profile insights are, and maybe some pack openings soon. So yeah, if you guys like what you guys see, just leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. And today I am actually going to be showing you a Gravekeeper deck profile. This is personally my favorite deck, and it's my main deck that I use. And I find it really fun to run. Not many people run it either. So it's kind of one of those things. It's just like I like to be different, have different decks than people, and this is one of my favorite things to run. So let's get started. I'm going to show you the monsters first. So you want to run 3 recruiters. If you guys don't know, his effect basically is if he's destroyed while you are controlling him, you can add 1 Gravekeeper with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. Which makes it useful to get out like a spy or any other Gravekeepers that let you get out any other monsters. So, actually, next is the spies, Gravekeeper spies. When it's a flip effect, whenever she is flipped, you can summon a Gravekeeper monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to the field. So yeah, she's pretty useful getting out like a heretic. Or not a heretic, but like a, I don't know, assailant or a descendant or something like that whenever you need it, depending on who you're going against and what's on the field already. So, definitely 3 commandants. He's probably one of the most important cards in the deck. He basically is what gets your field spell out, which for those of you guys that don't know is Necrovalley. And that is really useful. We'll get to that in a second. But basically, you discard him from your hand, and you can get a Necrovalley from your deck to your hand, and then just activate it on the same turn. So, next, I run 2 Noblemans. I've seen people where they run either 1. Some people don't even run any. Some people run 3. It just depends on how you have your deck set up, and I find it that 2 is probably the best. It's my favorite, and I mean, it doesn't stop my deck or anything. Like I always have something in plan. Like I never get stuck with this deck, so I don't see what other people say her problem is, but I like her at 2. Next we got 2 assailants. He actually is your like beater for the deck pretty much. When Necrovalley is on the field, with the boost that he gets, so he'll have 2000 attack, 2000 defense. So and his effect is whenever Necrovalley is on the field, if he attacks, you can switch the position of whoever you're attacking to, if they're in defense, you can switch it to attack. If they're in attack, switch them to defense. That helps really well get rid of like XYZs, bigger monsters that don't really have the defensive sitting on them. And 1 Gravekeeper Descendant. His effect is pretty useful. I personally like him at 1. I used to run 2. I used to run 3. But I think the best number for him is just to have 1 of him. I mean, his effect is really useful, but I mean, once you get him, off the field, he's not really that. I don't know. It depends. With my XYZs that I use with this deck, you don't really need many of him. And if you lose him anyways, you can just get a Gravekeeper still and put him back in your hand if he's in the graveyard. We have next a heretic. He is probably the most annoying card in this deck, other than the next one, but his effect is when Necrovalley is on the field, he is unaffected by any card effects at all. So he can't be affected by traps, spells, or any monster effects, nothing. The only downside to that is he is not affected by the Necrovalley boost, so he'll stay at 1800 attack, but I mean, you have to basically get something that's higher than 1800, so you're going to have to get a beater on the enemy. Whoever you're going against is going to have to get something higher just to get him off the field. And my last monster is Shaman. She is the most important card of this deck, I believe, other than Necrovalley, of course, but for monster-wise, she is the most annoying. She stops all the meta decks. She's really good against like gimmicks and shadows and stuff like that. Anything that has to do with graveyards, like bringing them back from the graveyards and all that, she just, I don't know, she just stops it. She can stop it just alone. If I had a second one, which I'm trying to get, I would run two. But as of now, I only have one. And that's it for the monsters. Next, I have the spells. And, of course, 3 Necro Valleys. Typical Gravekeeper deck. Any Gravekeeper deck that you see, you're going to have 3. All Gravekeepers gain 500 attack and defense. And you can negate any card effects that would bring them back from the graveyard, so you can't target in the graveyard or anything unless it's their own effect. That's the only way they can come back or do whatever they have to do. So there's that. Let's see here. I also run 2 Gravekeeper spells. Some people run 3. Some people run 1. I think the best number is 2. That way you don't get clogged up or anything. It basically lets you add 2 Gravekeepers from your graveyard to your hand. Any 2 Gravekeepers. So it's if you lose your Shaman or your Heretic or whatever, your Descendant, pop one of these and then you can get them all back to your hand. And I also have 1 Royal Tribute. This is a really good card. I would not recommend it against Dark Worlds, because I've played against Dark Worlds and this effect pretty much screws you over. Because basically what it does is if you control Necro Valley, you play this and both players discard all monster cards from their hand to the graveyard. So you kind of can see why it would suck against Dark Worlds. So next, 3 MSTs. I mean, it's self-explanatory. 2 Puddle Dualities. 3 is too much. I mean, you don't really need to have too much draw power. 2 is just enough. That way you don't get stuck with anything. You can have other cards in here. 2 Dark Holes and 1 Book of Moon, just in case, you know. Then, last but not least, is the traps. I run 2 Mirror Forces. People usually don't run Mirror Forces in this deck, and if they do, it's only 1. I like to run 2. Just because of the monsters that I use and all the XYZ effects that I have. I don't really need, like, effect, what do you call it? Stuff that stops effects. I don't really need much of them. I already have a couple cards that do that, so I like to have some protection from the back line, and that's why I've run 2. 2-dimensional prisons, very useful against cards that, for example, like Dark Worlds. This just gets them out, removes them from play. You can't really bring them back or anything. And it stops pretty much any deck. This card is like, you put it in any deck and it'll work. 1 Compulse. 1 7 Tools. People don't understand why I put 7 Tools in here, but I think it's a really safe card. People say, hey, why don't you run Trap Stun instead? Well, I mean, Trap Stun would kind of screw over any of my other cards on that turn if I used it. While this, all I had to do is just pay 1,000 life points. I can negate like a Solemn Warning or a Compulse or anything like that. So I prefer 7 Tools. Horn of the Heaven basically stops any summoning. The only thing is that you would have to tribute a monster, but I mean that you can get them back with steals, or I mean, it's just, I don't know, I find this card really useful. It's won me a couple duels, to be honest. 1 Breakthrough. Get rid of all those effects. I play against my friend all the time that has, like, Light Sworns, and he runs a Blue Eyes deck. I think that's a Blue Eyes deck, and it's so annoying. So I just pop him, you know, I cancel out whatever monsters they have, so... 1 Bottomless, self-explanatory. I run a Torrential. Some people have this in their side deck. I have it in there, I mean, just in case. Like, if I can't get anything on the field, and I'm going against, like, a Shadol, or Noble Knights or something like that, or Brotherhoods, where they can just keep special summon, I'll just pop that whenever I know they're done, and they're all pretty much gone. And 1 Solemn Warning. That way I can negate any special summoning, so XYZs, Synchros, whatever. So that's it for the main deck. And my extra deck, I run String Djinn, Wind Up Zen Mains, Alucard, and Greenosaurus. Alucard is probably my favorite XYZ in this deck, or in my extra deck, to be honest. Just because of his effect, take out any backline pretty much, and it's so useful against so many decks. I have Greenosaurus in here. He's basically like a beater, so I mean, if I'm facing somebody and I need a card that can just do a bunch of damage, and if they keep setting cards and they can't really set up anything, use his effect, pop them. That's 3k, you know, every time. Zen Minds and Djinn, you know, they're self-explanatory. They're pretty good to use. And that's my level 3s. Now for level 4s, I have Master Key Beetle. Self-explanatory. Effect, you can detach an XYZ material, and then you can lock it onto your Necro Valley or to like a Shaman or something. That way they can't destroy it as long as he's on the field. Sky Pegasus. I like her effect, and I actually just got her. It's pretty good card. I haven't played her in this deck yet though, but we'll see how that goes. Dark Rebellion Dragon. He's actually really useful, especially if you're going against like a Blue Eyes, any of the hard hitting decks like that. You know, just like the Stomp or Steamroll. He's really good at stopping that. Uses effect, you half the attack of whatever monster you choose on their side of the field, and he gains that half, and it's permanent. So if you're going against a Blue Eyes, you half the Blue Eyes to 1500. He gains 1500. That's 4k, and it's permanent. So Ragna Zero, really good against like Brotherhoods, Noble Knights, anything where they gain the attack from any source. User effect, pop the card and you draw a card. It gives you drawing power as well. Evil Swarm Nightmare. I like using this just in case somebody special summons a card. Like you can just switch it to defense or switch his battle position. And it's actually really helpful. That way, whenever your turn comes up, you can just take care of it with a beater. I have Zenmeister in here. I don't really know why. I just have him in here. I'm waiting to get other XYZs. But for now, I mean, he's not really that bad to have in here. This is one of my personal favorites. Photon. I don't even know how to say the rest of her name, so let's just leave it at that. Really useful effect. You know, detach one XYZ. Choose a face down defense position monster or face up defense. It doesn't matter. And switch it to attack mode, and it loses 600 attack. So basically, just attack, and yeah, they're pretty much gone. Crazy Box. I actually just got him. I've run him once in a deck, or in a duel, and he didn't do bad. I mean, he kind of basically, let's see, what is it that you roll where you destroy one card? I got 2 5s using his effect, so I got to destroy 2 cards. It was against a Dark World. I destroyed his field spell and then one of his like 2700 monsters. I don't really know what it was called, but I mean, it's not bad, and it's a 3000 attack, so it's a beater. The only thing bad about him is that he can't attack, so yeah. Diamond Dire Wolf. I mean, I just use him to basically self-sacrifice. He's kind of like a descendant, so just in case I don't have my descendant. And Gaga Cowboy, he's my last one. Self-explanatory. He gains attack if he's in attack mode. Defense, I mean, like if they're at, I don't know, 500 life points, switch into defense, detach one, that's game. So now for my side deck, I have a Gravekeeper Guard, basically a Compulse. I mean, I just have him there just in case. Gravekeeper Visionary, I have him here in case I need to switch out with like Heretic or a Shaman. He's basically more of a beat down card. He gains 200 attack for each Gravekeeper in the graveyard, and if he was to be destroyed by battle or by anything, you could discard one Gravekeeper from your hand instead, so he just stays on the field and he gains more attack. So Tsukiyomi. So this card is actually really useful. If you look at her effect, she's basically where you can, it can't be special summoned, but when this card is normal summoned or flip summoned, this card is, you can select one face-up monster on the field and put it into face-on defense. So it's kind of like the opposite of what the Photon, whatever her name is, does, except it doesn't lose attack or defense or anything. But I mean, still, you can just flip her face down and whenever it's your turn, just come up and attack them, take out whatever card it is. I have, let's see, 2 light imprisoning members against like light sworn and whatever, any type of light, so Satellar Knights and all that stuff. That's very useful. Malevolent Catastrophe. I actually saw my brother play this against a Ghost Trick deck, and when he did, the person playing Ghost Trick basically stopped. He got stopped by this card, and that basically won my brother the duel. And my brother has like a really bad deck. It's not even anything meta. It's just put together of fairies, and it still won. I don't know how, but I don't know. Chivalry. This basically negates any effect during the battle phase. So if you're ever going against somebody that's like running an assault mode or like a Cyber Dragon or something like that, any effects that activate during the battle phase, you can just negate them with that card. So that's why I keep it here. This overworked, I keep one in here just in case I face a Cyber Dragon deck or anything that has to do with like if the attack is higher than its original attack. So like Brotherhoods and Noble Knights and stuff like that, that could work on them. Time Space Trap Hole. I use this against people that are running Soul Charge, and it works pretty well. I've done it about twice. I've actually used it. And it kind of just backfires on them. Non-fusion area. I run this against Gem Knights. It's also going to be useful against the new hero decks and the new Synchron decks I think that are coming out. But I believe that this card is actually really useful against those type of decks. I've never actually run it yet against anybody, but I know that Gem Knights use fusions all the time, so I think that could stop it. Macrocosmos, just to, stop Dark Worlds and stuff like that. Spell Wall. I haven't really seen anybody use this card, but for this deck, it would actually be really useful. I have to read what it says because it's a long effect, but activate one effect. Your opponent takes no further damage this turn. During this turn, no summon of a spellcaster type monster can be negated. And when a spellcaster type monster is summoned, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects. So that's one of the effects. Or you could choose the other one, which is target one spellcaster type monster you control. If it attacks this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. So it's basically like it saves your Gravekeepers for a turn, because Gravekeepers are spellcasters, so why not? Snatch and Steal just in case. And Hidden Temples of Necro Valley. This one is one of my favorite cards. I keep it in my side deck. I used to run it in my main, but now I think he's just situational. Basically, you need to have Necro Valley and a Gravekeeper on the field at the same time, and if you do, neither player can special summon cards unless they're Gravekeepers. So it stops pretty much everything. So imagine this with a Shaman on the field and then Necro Valley. Your opponent can't do anything pretty much. So I think that's a really useful card. But yeah, guys, that's it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and let us know what you guys want us to do next. We could try and see if we can come up with something like a deck profile or whatever of you, whatever you guys want to see. Try and do something fun. I don't know. We could probably do like a old burn deck or something like that. But yeah, next time I think you'll be able to see who the other person I'm running this channel with will be, and he's actually really chill. And yeah, so leave a like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Thanks for watching.